This is Angela Horowitz, and the date today is March the 23rd, 2013. I am Pauline Graivier, and I'm interviewing Angela Horowitz, who is going to be the honoree for the Dallas Jewish Historical Society luncheon that's named for Ann Sikora. But we would be interviewing her anyway because she's a very important member of our community. And Angela, good morning. And would you please tell us something about growing up in Texas? You said something before about how many generations you are.
Well, being a fifth generation Dallasite, it makes me unique. My family's been here since the early 1900s. They have been showcased in the Texas Jewish Pioneers book, and it's a very interesting story about their passage across the Atlantic through Ellis Island and how they made their way to Dallas, Texas, and laid their roots. And so
what did your grandparents, is this your great-grandparents then, or great-great-grandparents?
It is my great-grandparents, and so just on my mother's side of the family, her maiden name is Rosenthal, and her family came through Ellis Island. Their last name was Schultz. By doing, history on them and their family and their roots, they found out that when he came through Ellis Island, that they happened to call Rosenthal, and my mother's great-grandfather stood up, and even though their last name was Schultz, all of a sudden they were tagged Rosenthal, and that's where, her maiden name is, or that's why it is what it is. And so they made their way west, and I believe they hit Chicago first and then down into Fort Worth, and they, like many other Jewish immigrants, only had so many trades. They were typically in textiles or in packing or in the meat industry, and especially the kosher meat industry. So they were peddling kosher meat out of their trunks, literally, and supplying that to the Jewish population. And one thing led to another, and they actually started the first kosher meat markets in the Fort Worth stockyard, I believe it was.
So that was Fort Worth.
Yeah. I'd have to really look back at the book just to recall the details, but they eventually ended up at Farmer's Market, and it was Samuel's and Company. That was my grandfather's first name was Samuel Rosenthal, so he took on his father's business, and so they were in the meatpacking industry. And ironically, when my father graduated University of Texas in Austin, his parents were in the textile business, his father, and I guess he decided he liked the meatpacking industry better, so he initially went to work for my mom's father, Sam Rosenthal, and learned a lot from him, and eventually started his own meatpacking company, and that was his first career. Today he's in trucking, but he began in the meatpacking industry. In fact, Paris Junior College in Paris, Texas, was donated by my father to the college. That was what we called Stevens Foods, and that was what his first company was there on Main Street in Paris, Texas. That now today
donated the meatpacking company?
He donated the land and the buildings to Paris Junior College, and when he decided to exit the meat industry and began a career in transportation, and so yes, today on Main Street in Paris, Texas, stands Paris Community College, and that land was donated by Steve Aaron.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
So you're talking now. Your husband Steve. I'm your dad, Steve. Mm-hmm. Okay. When did he and your mom move to, or open up and start to work in Dallas?
Well, my mom and dad were high school sweethearts. A little bit more history. Both of my parents were graduates of Hillcrest High School, and back in the day that they attended, it was nicknamed Hebrew High. Obviously, over the years, things changed, but my 4 siblings and myself, there's 5 children, we all attended Hillcrest High School and graduated from there. So certainly another little bit of history, although not related to Jewish history. So they were high school sweethearts, my folks. My mother met my father when she was a freshman in high school at a BBYO event, B'nai B'rith Youth Organization, and shortly after, my father, who is 3 years older, went on to University of Texas in Austin, and they dated all throughout his college career and her high school career, and she eventually joined him in Austin at UT, and they got married shortly thereafter and moved back to Dallas, where both of their families resided, and got married and began a family.
Quite a love story.
Yeah. It's been 53 years. So 5 children, there's 12 grandchildren. We all reside in Dallas, so we're really lucky. That's very unique that a family our size, that somebody doesn't move away or begin a career somewhere else. And so we're all very close. We do family dinners all the time. I work in our family business with my 2 brothers, and but very fortunate. I'm the middle child. I have a brother and sister older, and a brother and a sister younger, and we're all every other year in age and in school, so we grew up a very tight-knit family.
That's quite remarkable, truly, and you know it and you're grateful for it, which I love to see. You mentioned that Hillcrest was known as Hebrew High. Growing up in this kind of atmosphere, what was it like? Did you have any experiences that you want to share with us? Anything happened? Did any of the kids who were not Jewish have any resentment to this fairly unusual tidal wave of Jews coming into the school?
Well, I think there's a little bit of miscommunication. Back when my parents went to school in the 60s at Hillcrest, late 50s, that's when it was Hebrew High. When I attended Hillcrest High School, things were quite different. It was no longer Hebrew High. Most of the Jewish kids had gone on as Jewish day schools began popping up in our community. We didn't have them back when my parents grew up. And other private schools and opportunities and integration began, and unfortunately the Dallas Independent School District suffered dramatic changes, and the education wasn't up to par. And but my parents were believers in the public school system, and I feel very fortunate that I was exposed to all the different elements of the real world, because that's truly what it was like. And so
it's quite an international school now, isn't it?
Yes. I mean, busing began when I attended E.D. Walker Middle School, and went to John J. Pershing Elementary in the neighborhood, then attended E.D. Walker. And E.D. Walker is when the busing began, and it was, quite frankly, it was scary initially. Definitely a minority, as definitely a minority. But being Jewish and being white, really, you felt a little out of place and out of sorts. But as our people have always survived and, overcome all the obstacles, we dealt with it and we overcame it, and we're certainly exposed to.
That E.D. Walker also had open classrooms, so you really were forced to be exposed to a lot of different people, and the minority became the majority. So interesting. Can you tell us about? Were you a member of BBYO?
Yes, I was. I was a member of BBYO. I was in the Bbyo chapter, and I remember being picked up. It was a very exciting day. It was kind of like coming into the teenage years, even though you'd already done your bat mitzvah. it was a whole nother element. And I think that's where, although I connected with kids at Sherith Israel, because that's where my family has been a member of, and in fact, I don't want to get off target, but my great-great-grandfather was the second cantor of Sherith Israel. And so we have a very long legacy there. But getting back to BBYO, that's when I really think my connection deepened with Judaism, and the connection with Jewish kids who came from similar backgrounds, who had the same moral value system. I call it the Jewish value system. And I made lifelong friends and had a lot of fun. And when I went to University of Texas, I pledged a Jewish sorority, SDT, Sigma Delta Tau. My mother was back then a Sigma Delta Tau. My father was a Phi Sig at ZBT. All of the boys have been ZBT, Jewish fraternity at UT. In fact, my big brother runs the entire ZBT house and raised hundreds of thousands of dollars and close to $1 million to revamp the house. And so there's multi-generations of BBYO in my family. My mother has been the recipient of one of the leaders of BBYO a few years back. We're passionate about it. Now the nieces and nephews are doing it. Some have already been through it. Some are. So, again, another piece of legacy. My parents were both active in BBYO, and I think it's important piece of my past.
So that means the boys also.
Yes.
So BBYO is for both boys and girls. There's AZA and BBG.
Right.
Excellent, excellent. So you expect probably the same tradition to go on with your children. It
Most certainly.
Sounds like family is extra practice, family togetherness.
Well, family, I think if you ask me what was the most important value or lesson that my parents have taught me, and it's that family is paramount. It's paramount in your lives, your family and your friends, and that no matter what, you take care of each other. And, we'll have our differences from time to time, but at the end of the day, they are number one, and, we're always there for each other. And each one of the children, the Aaron children, feel the same way and exercise the same respect
It's
towards
really
each
quite
other.
remarkable because both of your parents have very large families. This is I understand for weddings that you have to sometimes limit your list. Is that so, or?
Well, shockingly enough, my mother's side of the family is enormous. There's relatives that I probably haven't even met that are fourth cousins, fifth cousins. And, when growing up, we used to have family reunions and once a year. But of course, people get older and go in different directions. But I am related to literally what it feels like it's half the city through my mother's side. My father, ironically, comes from a very small family. He was born in Cincinnati. And he moved here when he was 2. His father had 2 brothers, and they were in the textile business, and they owned the famous Aaron Brothers ladies apparel. And if you drive by the giant McDonald's on Congress Street, just down from the Adolphus, is where the Aaron Brothers was housed, and all of the high fashion women in Dallas and high society women, shopped at Aaron Brothers. And so they called my grandfather Ready Money Roy. He was dapper. He was always best dressed. This is my father's father. But there was just 2 brothers, and my father only has 1 sister. And she had 2 children. And so it's really a very small family.
But your mother makes up for it, your mother's side.
Yes, makes up for it. So you're right. When we do have just Passover with immediate family, not even outside of first cousins is 50 to 60 people. So it's quite amazing, and
that's incredible.
Yeah,
incredible. Well, tell us, you have been so active in the philanthropic area. Your parents, of course, are. Tell us what have been your favorite, or the things that you've become the most passionate about.
Well, I think I've done a lot of different things, and everything I've done feels really good. It impacts your life in different ways, whether you're helping toddlers or seniors, High House or Legacy, the Holocaust Memorial Center to Jewish Federation to Jewish Family Services. But the Jewish Community Center, truly, I've been an officer for the last 6 years. I do have a goal of becoming president of that organization one day. I love what it represents for our community.
What you're not saying is the real name of it is the Aaron Family Jewish Community Center, which is pretty impressive. Did I say it right?
You did. Some years ago, as most Jewish community centers around the country were facing trouble financially and had to really re-diversify how they ran their business, my parents were called upon to step up and to help financially change the face of the JCC. And they did. They pretty much say yes when they're called to the plate, and even when they're not. But it was renamed the Aaron Family Jewish Community Center. But my parents have the passion for it. My mother grew up there, spent time there at the Julius Sheps, which it was back then. And certainly the Sheps family is very special in our community. So it feels really good to be part of that legacy, part of the memories. I grew up there. I remember hanging out at the swimming pool there and playing t-ball there and hanging out with my Jewish friends, and it always was a place where we felt welcome, where we could be ourselves, and it feels that way today. And as our community has grown, the programs and the diversity that it offers feels like the only place in Dallas where little 1-year-old toddlers, 2-year-old, 3-year-old in the preschool, all the way to the seniors programs. It's open to everyone, no matter what your
you could live your whole
religious
life there.
affiliation is. We've got Orthodox, we've got Reformed, we've got, just an abundance, but it's a house that caters to everybody and has Jewish values. And
it really is.
That's my passion, really.
That's fabulous. And that explains why you were willing to be honored, because there is a responsibility involved in it. So you're being honored by the Dallas Jewish Historical Society, which happens to be housed in the JCC.
Right.
Thank you very much. So you have applied yourself to various organizations that are within the umbrella of the Jewish Federation, and you really have done a lot of things. Can we switch into your professional life? Well, tell us, I know you said you're in the family business, but tell us what you do.
Well, I'm an officer at Stevens Transport. My family's in the trucking business, and we're coming up on 34 years of transportation. It's recognized as one of the largest in the nation, and I serve a variety of roles there. Similar to philanthropy, I started at the ground level, and I built myself and eventually became a leader in the organization. I work across the training and the driver resources part of our company. Drivers generate the wages that feed the rest of us, so they are equally as important and a customer of our business. And so I oversee approximately 3,000 drivers, and the hiring, the marketing, the advertising, our training and driving academies, as well as human resource side of our business. We have approximately 3,500 employees, and so I have multiple people and
Indeed.
departments that report to me and that I have oversight of. And much like philanthropy, I feel like Stevens Transport is a family, and we really surround ourselves with the best people, and people are the backbone to any business, just like they are to any organization. Mm-hmm. And we probably operate much on the same value system within our company of changing lives, of making impact, of giving people opportunity. And it's worked out really well. So I enjoy the challenge that it brings me in my life.
What's your favorite? You've told us so many, it's such wide variety, but I keep hearing the truckers themselves, the people themselves is...
I am a people person. I always have been. I probably haven't met a stranger. I enjoy making a difference in people's lives. It feels really good. And anytime I can contribute to somebody less fortunate, or present an opportunity to somebody who needs one, or to mentor the next leader in business or in philanthropy or in our community, it's something that it's just a natural calling for me.
And you're passing that on to your 3 absolutely beautiful children.
Yeah, I was very proud of my son, Sam. I'm proud of all my children, of course, but Sam recently was bar mitzvahed. And, you know, a lot of kids will do local projects for the JFS and the food pantry, or, you know, March of Dimes to just about anything. And Sam wanted to do something outside of the box. He was fortunate enough to take his first trip to Israel this past summer prior to his bar mitzvah, and he ran across a village called Bbyo Youth Village, and it was a boys' youth village that was for troubled children, or children who had come from families that were troubled, and this was where they were going to be raised. And it really was their only opportunity for success in life. And he was really touched by these boys, and he decided that he was going to raise money to help the boys of the youth village attend summer camps versus having to return to their homes where things always weren't the best situation. And so he put together, with the help of my mother, who certainly inquired for her advice, a beautifully composed letter asking family and friends to consider donating to Jewish Agency for Israel, which administers the funds to Bbyo Youth Village. He raised over $18,000.
Whoa.
I believe his total at the end was $38,000 because he had a matching pledge. So
wow.
From his father, which was very generous, but he had a matching pledge, so he raised over 18, and as a match came in, and so he felt really good for that. And I think that'll be a special part of his life, and every time he visits Israel, he'll visit Bbyo.
That's really special and really impressive. Good for
And
you.
he also collected backpacks, gently used backpacks and books for a school in Oak Cliff that badly needed books and backpacks. And so we wanted to give something here locally as well. And so yeah, I'm working hard to teach my children the same values that I was taught. I believe a large part of who I am today is because of the values that my parents instilled in me, and that, you know, it's tzedakah and tikkun olam, and the more you give, the more you receive, and to always feel fortunate. You know, I've been very blessed. I've had a very blessed life, and I want my children to never take anything for granted, and we were taught the same.
That's excellent. Thank you so much. This is a a very informative and heartwarming interview. Thank you, Angela.
You're welcome. Thank you.